Take two. I'd like to call to order the October 19th meeting of the Brentwood Board of Aldermen. If you'd all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Alderman Plufko,
Here.
Alderman Slusser, Alderman Lockmiller,
Here.
Alderman Kramer,
Present.
Alderman Tui,
Here.
Alderman Leahy,
Here.
Alderman Manister,
Here.
Alderman Saunders.
Here.
Octavia, Alderman Slusser did email City Administrator Conde and I and advised us that he may be up to an hour late, but he is planning on coming. Before we get started tonight, actually, if the board will indulge me, I'd like to take just a couple of minutes and say a couple of things about Robert's Rules of Order. As our city attorney says, I have been punctilious about the application of the rules. And I'm not sure what that means. But what I want to say is this. I'm a big fan of Robert's Rules of Order, as you guys know. And the reason I'm a big fan is because, you know, it's a system that's been around for more than 100 years, and it's been almost universally adopted as a way to effectively run meetings of this type. And so, you know, rather than try to reinvent a wheel, I'm a big believer in using the ones we have. And so that's why I'm a big fan of it. And the purpose of the rules is to protect the rights of the majority, to protect the rights of the minority, to protect the rights of the individual members, and to protect the rights of the board itself. And I think they do a fairly good job of that. Now, that said, I get the feeling, or I've gotten the feeling over the last few months, that our punctilious application of the rules has maybe caused some discomfort to the board, and that's certainly not my intent. And in fact, the rules do say that you should not allow strict applications of the rules to interfere with the transaction of the business before the body. So what I'd like to offer you is this. Anytime that you feel like there's something that you might want to do or a question you might want to ask, I would encourage you to make an inquiry of the chair. And that involves nothing more than raising your hand and saying, I'd like to make an inquiry. I'll answer the inquiry, and in that inquiry, tell me what you want to do. Just tell me what you want to do, and I'll help you figure out how to do it if we are allowed to do, if we can do it under the rules. I really don't want the rules to be something that constrains us. I want them to be something that helps us. And, you know, I hope that that'll be a way that can happen. Now, I say that, one thing I want you all to be aware of is, in the course of your discussion, you may say certain things that make it clear that you want to do something to you. But I will never, ever interpret discussion on the floor as you wanting to do something unless you particularly say that's what you want to do. And the reason is because I don't want to give anyone on the board the impression that I'm trying to help one member more than any other member. So, for example, I think in last meeting, Andy, you had the feeling that we were talking about an amendment to postpone something. Yes. And I said, you know, no, we didn't have an amendment to postpone something. So I just want to make it clear that I won't ever try to interpret what's going on in your head, because you won't want me to do that. But I will, if you stop and say, I'd like to make an inquiry and tell me what it is you'd like to do, I'd be very happy to help you figure out if there's a way to do it under the rules. And hopefully you all will feel comfortable doing that, and it will help us as a board conduct the business more effectively. So does that make sense to everyone? And I'm sorry to interrupt the meeting, but I wanted to get that out of the way so that we could actually start with that tonight, if everybody's okay with that. So, all right, first item, I've gone and forgot my packet. Oh, thank you. Item number 3 on the agenda, approval of the agenda for the October 19th meeting. Are there any amendments to the agenda? Seeing none, by acclamation, the agenda is approved. Consideration of the minutes of the Board of Aldermen meeting of October 5th, 2015. Are there any amendments to the minutes as presented? Alderwoman Saunders.
Just on page 9,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the seventh sentence, or 7 line down, I should say, that in the middle there it says vehemently. I'm not certain I said that word, and I just would like that checked and omitted if I didn't.
Okay, are there any other amendments to the minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes as amended?
Second.
Well, I think actually that was a,
Motion to amend.
well, was it a motion to amend, Alderman Saunders? Do you want to actually change the minutes, or do you want to check the minutes? I'm sorry.
I need them checked because they have to be, I can't make any changes unless it's verbatim.
Okay.
So I don't know if I said that word or not.
That, could I recommend then somebody make a motion that we postpone the approval of the minutes of the October 5th meeting until the next meeting date?
So moved?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we postpone the approval of the October 5th meeting minutes until the next meeting date. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, they'll be postponed until next meeting.
Thank you.
Item number 5 on the agenda, donation from Charles Alt. Mr. Alt.
Mr. Mayor, members of the Board of Aldermen. I'm a 62-year-old resident of this city. No, excuse me, let me rephrase that. I've lived here for 62 years, and MSD now owns my property. I'm no longer a resident of Brentwood. So I had this map of my neighborhood made some years ago. And as you can see, this is Maddenville. Please don't be confused. This is not from 1930. This is from 1896. And it shows all of the detail of what was the beginning and then what became the greater, or a small portion of the greater city of Brentwood. I always intended to hang this in my home. My trouble was that I could never figure out where to hang it. And so now that MSD has kindly taken possession of my home, which is kind of an interesting, if I can do a real quick sidelight. I first walked into that house when I was 7 years old, because that was where my best friend lived. And after getting the entire tour of the 4 rooms, I went to his mother, and in my most diplomatic manner said, "Mrs. Meyer, not that I'm in a hurry, nor do I want to be pushy, but when you don't want to live here anymore, let me know, because I want to live here." And 40 years later, I got the house. So now they've got the house, and I wanted to give this map of Maddenville to my city. And if I may, please, we have this wonderful map of our city here, but I think it might be fitting to hang this close to it so that future generations may look at this and say, "What is this?" or how did that come to be this?
Might look good right here, huh?
Thank you all. Thanks, John.
Thank you, Charlie.
All right. Yes, that's fantastic. I want to thank Mr. Alt again for that, although he seems to have skedaddled right on out. Item number 6 on the agenda, there's no public hearing this evening. Item number 7, we have no bids. Item number 8 on the agenda, hearing of any matter of public interest upon the request of any person present. Would anyone care to come forward and address the board? You'll have 3 minutes.
Matt Saunders, 2326 Park Ridge. Alderman Tilley, it's painfully obvious at the last meeting that you're just trying to set up Alderman Saunders to resign. You carried the water of the last mayor, now you're carrying this one. We were represented by the people. That's who you represented. It'd be nice if you start doing that. I know you're going to try to censure her again tonight, and you've brought proof, so I'm assuming the 5 accusations that you made are going to be shown to be true. Her causing staff to resign, is that your opinion, or do you have proof here? Also, when did she create a hostile work environment? You know, you're right, Brentwood does have a bad reputation, but she didn't create it. She didn't create it at all. It was created by the employees, and it was summed up in the state audit. Alderman Saunders did not create that reputation. She only brought it to the light of day and made citizens think a lot more bad practices would have been exposed had you supported a bond we citizens paid for, or if you had been an accountant concerned with details and supported a forensic audit. Troubling behavior, reaching out to other cities, really? She's trying to make herself smarter, bring best practices to the city, and that's a problem? She does represent Brentwood. She represents Ward 1, and you guys want to shut her down. I'm sorry, I just don't understand that. She publicly disparages the staff. Let me tell you how you publicly disparage us citizens. You told us we have no right to know what our financial reserves are. You say good financial reserves are 1 month. Now, come on. You know better than that. You were willing to gamble $60,000 of the citizens' money when you wanted to move forward on a Hanley industrial project, and they hadn't even committed to the $60,000. Yet you called us all short-sighted because there was $900 other thousand we were getting from other sources. I was just curious, do you gamble your own money away that easily? As a CPA, is it smart business practice to have 4 people on the pension board who will actually receive the benefits? That defies all common sense, and my guess is that's not considered a best practice. It just doesn't add up to the fact that a pension majority vote can be reached by those who receive the benefit. That's an insult to the citizens who fund the pension. We deserve a more qualified watchdog situation than what is in place. And it is, again, that's the type of behavior and lack of oversight that got us into trouble before. So, and then I'll ask you, Alderman Plufka, what are the punitive demands that she's asked for? I asked Bullitt twice when these accusations came out before. Show me something. She never did. She never came with anything. So this isn't anything new. The past is what got us here. Saunders didn't create the past. We were taken advantage of by people we should have been able to trust the most, public service. And still some of these same folks responsible for that continue to work for Brentwood. It's sad to see that you were so easily swayed without going back and watching all the videos of her challenges trying to represent the citizens of Ward 1. And my question, too, is how is she affecting individuals' job performance? Let's face it, it all appears around the compensation of employees. What all of you don't seem to understand is you are supposed to watch for our citizens' treasures, not to use the money to make sure employees like you, which is exactly what it looks like you're doing. When I hear mention that we pay well above the scale in order to bring the best and the brightest, again, it doesn't make sense. We had the worst state audit, the worst one the past auditor ever said, and yet we're paying the best and the brightest. 1 and 1 does not equal 2 in there. It just doesn't. The employees who violated state or local laws by turning in false time cards or using city credit cards illegally have no right to expect citizens still bruised over those actions to move on. Many haven't and still have a hard time coming to terms with once again trusting our public servants. The citizens were aware that every year during the annual audit by an outside firm, recommendations to short financial weaknesses were given to them. They were ignored.
Mr. Saunders?
Yes.
It's been 3 minutes. Can you wrap up? Well,
No, I'm going to have someone give me their 3 minutes.
You can finish.
Jim Pones is going to give me, I'm almost done. The citizens can't look the other way because the sting of being taken advantage of is still in place. It will be a long road before the past is forgotten. The most important thing you guys need to remember is the only person capable of stealing someone's integrity is the person themselves. All of the employees who willingly crossed the line had the option of standing up and saying, this is wrong. The public servants sacrificed their integrity on their own. The citizens did not take it from them. I've said this before in a meeting, and I'll say it again. The world's greatest leaders, and perhaps stated best by King Solomon, one of the greatest treasures is being surrounded by consultants, and to always make sure there are those that disagree with you so that you think of all opportunity available. It's okay to disagree with Alderman Saunders. It is just saddening and maddening to think that many of you believe we want a board that is nothing more but a group of sycophants toward the mayor. That's our recent history that got us into trouble in the first place, and now you want to relive that past. Ouch. Thank you.
Thank you.
Denise Sebbing, 2612 Porter. I have to say, I wasn't here for last meeting, but I was appalled at the census action. I think it was quite apparent that 4 individuals in this room were already prepared, and quite a few other people were not prepared. I think the other Board of Aldermen were not even given a chance to prepare, including Ms. Sanders, and I think that's deplorable. Mr. Leahy and Mr. Toohey, you had commented or alluded to one of the issues that Mrs. Saunders had committed that you thought was atrocious was that she sent emails on the company email system or the city's email system, and that you didn't like that because some of the things that she sent could then be subject to the Sunshine Law. I think that's absurd. If it's government business, it should be going through on the company server. And I bring this to light because, in fact, it raises the issue, Mr. Leahy, that, again, you continue to use your own company server as your email. When people try to email you, they're directed to your company server. I personally asked via the Sunshine Rule to get a copy of some correspondence that you keep saying exists, and I was told in a very legal document that I couldn't have it because your email did not come through on the city server. It was not going to be able to be presented. I think that's very non-transparent at the very least, and it raises the issue as to why the city administrator, who's quite aware of this, the Board of Aldermen, who's aware of this, and the mayor has allowed this questionable practice. It seems like the similar situation was happening with Mrs. Clinton, and I think if it's city business, it should be done on city, it's city's business, it should be done on city's email server so that the business can be subject to Sunshine Law. Mr. Pleka, I do agree that the goal of the Board of Aldermen should be to leave the professionals do the job. I think that is a good goal for the city, but I don't think the city's here yet. I have a simple example that I can bring to you this evening, and I've done this before on site distance issues, that, again, this is the 4th time I've done this, not particularly to this board, but I've done this to the Board of Aldermanic meeting, showing that the simple things that city employees should be addressing aren't being done. And in fact, I have brought this to the attention of the city and Mr. Mayor. This shows a site distance issue that happens to be on Litzinger, one of the busiest roads here in Brentwood, next to the elementary school, and it's been brought to your attention, and it's still, after 2 months, is still there. I'll have pictures, I'll share those with you. But I think if we can't trust that the city employees, I know we have a city inspector, Mr. Albrici, who's around the area, and if they can't bring these types of issues to the city, then how can we expect that these employees are capable of continuing to do the harder issues? Until they can handle these things, I think the board needs to be asking the important questions. I'll share this that you can see what I'm talking about. Thank you.
Please give those to the city clerk. Yeah, city clerk. Octavia. Thank you.
Louise Charbonneau at 833 Madge. I became a fan of Maureen Saunders, I think it was in 12 when she was starting with her petition. I believe she became a City Hall watcher, is what I consider myself to be, in around 1996. Some people on the board maybe were still looking for prom dates at that juncture, but Maureen's remained steady, she's dedicated, she's persevered, sometimes she's prickly. That's okay. I salute her courage. I salute her independence and her perseverance. I salute her recent successes. She got the compensation study done. A new comprehensive plan is coming. And I don't think that any behavior that any alderman that I've seen has risen to the level of censure. I went and tried to research censure this afternoon, especially in Robert's rules. The computer shuts you down. You can't get anywhere, so I asked the librarian for a physical copy. Well, it's from 1989, so I know that's not the newly revised copy. But section number 3 on censure, or disciplinary action, talks about members who misbehave outside of a meeting, and that talks about it being a very complex issue because the other members weren't there as witnesses. So I wish that you would reconsider this. Alderman Kramer said he didn't think it had been put into the policy for the city of Brentwood. I think this is ill-advised and inappropriate. I continue to be a supporter of Maureen Saunders, and I bet you there's a whole bunch of her voting public that thinks so too. Thank you, Maureen.
Thank you.
I'm Vicki Woods. I'm the director of the library here. I don't actually live in Brentwood, though, so I don't know if I'm allowed to speak.
Of course, any member of the public.
Great. Do you still need my address?
That's all right.
I want to say, because I've been listening to these acrimonious accounts of the city employees for quite some time now. And I'd like to mention that I came here in 2010. I was here for the first year that Chris Seemeyer was here. And I can tell you the difference between what I see when I come upstairs is it's mind-blowingly different. When Chris was here, I actually believed that the employees worked part-time because they weren't here very often. So now when I come upstairs, Bo is here at 7 p.m. She's here at 6 a.m. Gina Jarvis did so much more for putting our books together, putting our budget together. I can't tell you how disappointed I am that she's left. I can't tell you how disappointed I am that Julie McMillan left, how really wonderful she was. And I cannot say enough about the people that I don't work with them directly, but they have been supportive of the library. They pay for our bills, they help us out, we pay a fee for it. And I just want to be able to say that I think they're wonderful. So there you have it.
Thank you. Are there any further public comments this evening?
I'm Jack Chastain. I'm at 8837 Moritz, and I'm here tonight because since going back to the summer, I've noticed a prevalence of panhandlers at Brentwood Boulevard and Highway 40. You're nodding your heads at the exit ramps, and going back to the summer, I didn't think it was a big deal. There were a few that came every now and then, but now, I mean, it's up to like 10, maybe a dozen that come every day. And now they've become so prevalent and so organized that they're in shifts. And when I call Brentwood PD to have them go out, 2 or 3 hours later, there's a different guy on the same corner to take the other guy's place. And, you know, word's gotten around to these people, and they've become much more than just panhandlers. You know, why does it concern me? Some of these people, like I'd say half a dozen, show clear signs of heroin addiction. They have gaunt, emaciated bodies. They wear the same clothes every time, every day I see them. I've seen them turn down food. All they're after is money. And after speaking to a Richmond Heights police officer, he and I both came to the same conclusion, that they're only here, they hop on the metro, probably don't pay, they get off at the Galleria exit or the Brentwood one by Best Buy and Deerberg's, go to their corner, get their $20, $30, $40, and then make a call to a dealer who's probably in the area to pick up some heroin, because you know they're not getting in a car to go buy it, and they're not taking the time to go somewhere else to buy it. It's being done here. That's why I think it's a problem. That's why I came here tonight. I feel like it gives Brentwood a black eye. It looks bad. It's sore to see. And it's not just Brentwood, it's Richmond Heights too, because I know that's on the fuzzy border, right where the highway is. But I believe it needs to be addressed. And I wouldn't bring up a problem unless I had a solution to offer. And that is to get the word out to both Brentwood and Richmond Heights PD that these people aren't welcome. To have the officers tell them that they shouldn't be there because they're not allowed there. Just like word got out to the panhandlers, hey, come to Brentwood. You know, I got this much money this day. Nothing happens. We just come back every day. Have the officers tell them that they're not welcome, because they're not. And that's not what Brentwood should be about. I love this place. I grew up here. I was born here. I just don't want to see that. I don't want to see Brentwood become run down with heroin addicts walking the streets. And, you know, that's all I have.
Thank you. Any further public comment this evening? Okay, seeing none, aldermanic response. No aldermanic response this evening? Item number 9 on the,
Can I jump in there real quick?
Sure, of course.
I apologize. I was going to yield to maybe one of the other aldermen if they had something they wanted to say. Regarding the topic of the panhandlers, I have been over the years in conversation with various of our city administrators and our police officers about this topic. We do have I don't want to call it an illusion, but there are some folks who are not exactly certain where we've got our dividing line between the two cities, Richmond Heights and Brentwood. And the panhandlers are very clever about that. We have most of the officers and the city administrator and city staff in general have been very vigilant about this, and most of the panhandlers do stay away from the city of Brentwood proper. But right at the dividing line, which is as you come down Eager Road west of Brentwood Boulevard, that's actually the dividing line for Brentwood. So the off-ramp from Highway 64 eastbound is actually Richmond Heights. That's where they love to stay, and they do have a system. They do look around the corner. They do check to see who's watching. They do rotate. They sometimes have candy. Sometimes they have something else to sell, or they just want the money. But I was not aware of the potential of the drug use, and I hope that our police department can stay in contact with Richmond Heights regarding this aspect. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further aldermanic response? Seeing none. Item number 9 on the agenda, bill number 5981. Alderman Leahy, I believe this is yours.
Yes, sir, if I may. The bill passed on a majority vote. It was vetoed. The question was risen as to whether or not the veto that we instituted here in Brentwood, because we don't get to do vetoes that often, was or was not in conformance with state statute. The city attorney did do a nice job of researching this and came back, and the response was in our city administrator report. The city attorney and my research both came up with no case law that tells us how the last sentence is to be interpreted. I would like at this time to request the Board of Aldermen to allow staff to ask for an Attorney General's opinion through State Senator Scott Sifton's office, to ask for the Attorney General to potentially weigh in and help interpret the last sentence to work with, since nobody else has got a case law that tells us how to interpret the sentence to work with. So I'd like to make that motion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the board, I guess it's authorized?
Authorized.
We're looking for an authorization. The board authorize soliciting a Attorney General opinion from State Senator Scott Stifton.
The Attorney General opinion must come from either a state senator or a state representative. It cannot come from the city of Brentwood.
So the motion then, I take it, is to authorize Alderman Leahy to seek, to request from State Senator Stifton's office an Attorney General's opinion regarding the veto of 5981.
Please.
Correct. Okay. Is there any discussion? Alderman Saunders.
Mayor Thornton, could you please ask Alderman Leahy if he does he disagree with the city attorney's opinion?
Alderman Leahy?
I interpret it the way it's written, and Mr. O'Keefe and I have come to a reasonable conclusion, but I don't know that either one of us got the right conclusion. And at no cost to the city, I think it'd be worth asking the Attorney General to help clarify it, since nobody else has raised the issue with them.
Alderman Kramer.
Yes, Your Honor. I don't think there's any harm in pursuing an opinion from our state's Attorney General in this matter. The worst they can do is we get further educated. Perhaps it might change something, perhaps it won't. It might help us in the future. Can't hurt, might help.
Thank you. Alderwoman Saunders?
Could you please ask City Attorney if he agrees that he did not come to a conclusion or an opinion on this particular issue? Or does his opinion agree or disagree with, does he feel it's necessary to seek an opinion of the Attorney General?
Mr. O'Keefe?
I have expressed an opinion that I believe the law has a clear construction, that the strained construction attributed to the University of Missouri's Extension Service is inaccurate and artificial. I have, I believe, at least tried to express a strong opinion that I believe there is that the statute is clear and that a veto returned at the next meeting, regular meeting of the body is exactly what the statute calls for. With respect, I have cited case law in Missouri and elsewhere in the country which support that reading and construction of the statute. The grammar, punctuation, and phrasing of the statute makes that position clear, and I've tried to express that as best I could in the opinion that I provided to you. So I believe I have, in fact, reached an opinion. The opinion is that the mayor's veto was returned in a timely manner under the statute, and the subsequent proceedings were appropriate in terms of the board's consideration of that action. To the extent I was asked to opine, I have reached a conclusion which I have strongly believe is a correct one.
Thank you. Alderman Leahy?
I was under the impression, Mr. O'Keefe, that the email that you and I conversed back and forth and what you shared with the board was that you found also no case law on this topic specific to this question. Did I misread the email?
I believe so. My statement is, my research has disclosed no case law in Missouri or elsewhere which would support this strained construction of the plain language of the statute referring to the University of Missouri Extension Service or the opinion attributed to the University of Missouri Extension Service. I went on to cite a Missouri case which specifically said that returning the bill to the meeting, to the next meeting, is exactly what the statute contemplated, and then, of course, cited the cases in other jurisdictions which reached the same conclusion in similar language.
Then I apologize for not understanding the email that I read, sir.
I probably phrased it poorly.
Your Honor, the
Too many
last time
words.
that we requested this board to allow us to go for an Attorney General's opinion was when we had a question as to whether the 2-year, 4-year term could be reversed back to a 2-year term. At that time, we discussed it among the board a few different times because we weren't sure how to best accomplish that task. When we went for the Attorney General's opinion, the opinion that they came back was a lot different than what we thought in the whole beginning of the discussion. Because it was an ordinance that the board had made, the board has the authority to undo the ordinance versus having to go to the public and redo a vote to work with. I'm still interested in asking the Attorney General to at least weigh in on it, because the way I read the sentence, I read it as punctuated that if they wait till the next meeting to return it, that the bill becomes law without signature. Thus, I think that that's a potential interpretation that the Attorney General may support. I will agree with Mr. O'Keefe that he has discussed with the University of Missouri Extension Office about their findings, and they've conveyed to him that they're going to re-research it and probably change what I was reading to work with. But I would be interested to see what the Attorney General of the state of Missouri has to say on that specific point. So I would still ask that the board consider allowing that action.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, we'll have a roll call, please.
Alderman Kramer?
Yes.
Alderman Leahy?
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller?
Yes.
Alderwoman Bannister?
Yes.
Alderman Plufka?
No.
Alderwoman Saunders?
No.
Alderman Tui?
No.
I have 4 yes, 3 no.
Okay, so the motion passes.
Thank you.
If I may, I believe it is the Attorney General's position that if a political subdivision or an opinion is requested on behalf of a political subdivision, that they require first that the counsel to the subdivision, political subdivision, provided an opinion. I would ask that to the extent it may still be relevant, that that the Board of Aldermen waive attorney-client privilege as to the communication I provided and offer that information to the Attorney General as part of the request.
So moved as a motion, Your Honor.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that the Board of Aldermen waive the attorney-client privilege relative to the email opinion that was provided by Mr. O'Keefe to Alderman Leahy. Is there any discussion of the motion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 10 on the agenda, and there are no bills to receive a first reading this evening. Item number 11C, Bill number 6016, second reading only. Please, Mr. City Attorney.
Yes, sir. Bill number 6016, second reading. Consideration for adoption. An ordinance providing for the adoption of the Second Amendment to the Fifth Amended and Restated Police and Firefighters Pension Plan, providing for the repeal of all conflicting ordinances, and providing for the effective date of this ordinance.
Synopsis, please.
Yes, Your Honor, the synopsis is slightly more illuminating. Bill number 6016, the second reading, the adoption of the Second Amendment to the Fifth Amended and Restated Police and Firefighters Pension Plan, covers an ordinance providing for the adoption of the Second Amendment of the Fifth Amended and Restated Police and Firefighters Pension Plan, provides for the repeal of all the conflicting ordinances, provides for the effective date of the ordinance. The Police and Firefighters Pension Board has reviewed and recommended approval of Bill number 6016.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to perfect.
So moved.
Second, Your Honor.
It's been moved and seconded that the board perfect Bill number 6016 into ordinance form. Is there any discussion? Alderwoman Saunders.
Is the actuary here? Okay. Can I, do I?
If the board would care to hear from the actuary, since he's here at this meeting, I think that would probably be a good idea. Is there any objection? Okay, seeing none. Yes, sir.
Good evening. I'm Keith Kowalczyk. I've been the actuary on the pension plan for 20-plus years, I guess, so
Okay.
I'd
And
be glad
this,
to answer any questions you have.
this amendment was going to come before the board earlier, at an earlier time, and I had written some questions as far as, does it increase the actual amount of the benefit that we pay out? I asked that same question here. Is this increasing the benefit?
It's modifying the time a benefit would be paid. It is not increasing the amount of any monthly benefits.
Okay.
Would you like a further
That would be great.
explanation? The plan document has had, for as long as I've been the actuary to the plan, a normal retirement age of age 55 with 20 years of service. Your hiring practices in the city have always been in the plan that no participant has ever had less than 20 years of service at the normal retirement age of 55. However, more recently, there's been 4 employees hired at, I'll say older ages, not older for me.
Chief Jury, you'll have a few minutes for rebuttal.
At older ages, that in application of our actuarial process, where our assumption is that people retire at normal retirement age, that would delay those participants' retirement ages, normal retirement ages under the plan, until the 20 years of service. For example, if someone's employed at age 50, they would reach their 20 years of service at age 70. And so the plan documents normal retirement date produced an extended normal retirement date beyond what you would think would be normal. So that would produce a dilemma, I thought, for the board. And so we asked the board to clarify what they thought the intent of the plan was as far as the normal retirement age under the plan.
And is this retroactive? It says effective November 1st, any employee who attains normal retirement age. Is that going forward November 1st and forward?
It probably doesn't matter at all because no one's left employment of those 4 individuals, to my understanding.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter whether it's current or retroactive. It hasn't affected anyone in the past.
Okay. And so this is a new benefit that we think because we're hiring older or additional?
Well, I think we've, in our cost study, we've kind of issued it as a clarification of the plan because we don't think that you want a normal retirement age of age 70 for your fire and policemen. We don't think you want them here then. Well, I don't know if I want, well, you do understand what I mean. So, and a terminated participant in the document can collect their benefit with 10 years of service, can collect their benefit at age 55. But someone who retires from service or leaves service after age 55, the document basically says you have to wait till that 20 years of service. And if you leave at age 55, let's say you have 15 years of service, when is that normal retirement age? Because the person never attains 20 years of service. Is it infinity or is it? So I think there's a dilemma in the document. When we proposed the amendment, we presumed that the pension board would provide for a 55 and 10 years of service with the COLA if you didn't have 20 years of service, as a 20-year employee does get. They didn't do that. They said that we think if someone has less than 20 years of service, maybe they shouldn't be entitled to the COLA. So the COLA is not attached to this benefit. So if you leave at 55 or 60 with 10 or 15 years of service, you can retire at that age and start collecting benefits, but there's no COLA attached to that benefit. We've been valuing the plan at age 60 with 20 years of service, so we've been assuming that you keep this employee till 70 years old. But we presume that they have 20 years of service and they have the commensurate benefit associated with that and that a COLA is attached to it. So what the pension board did or suggested to amend the plan would actually would reduce the cost because it eliminates the COLA that we presumed was there. Does that make, it's very complicated, I know.
Right. So presently, if an employee works 15 years under the current plan, and they attain the age of 55, do they get the deferred vested benefit, or you're saying they never get the normal retirement benefit?
I don't know.
Never have 20 years of service?
I don't know what that normal retirement age is because they never attain the 20 years of service. I would presume that you would, in our assumptions, we presume that that benefit would be paid at the 20 years of service, the projected 20 years of service, even though it wasn't worked. That's what we assumed.
Right, because you can't just not give them anything.
I don't think so.
Under a plan, so
No,
this
I
is clarifying
completely
that.
agree.
Can I ask how the determination between 10 and 20 versus 15, 17 years, 12, as opposed to going
Well,
from 20 to
vesting
10?
occurs at 10 years of service.
Okay.
And so the dilemma, I think, only occurred between the 10 and 20 years of service period.
So with the COLA and that, you don't see this as an increased cost to the city?
No, I don't.
And not in the future either? That it'll
No,
be?
I think it's a clarification of when someone should collect the benefit, and the pension board clarified that, suggesting that those individuals not be entitled to the COLA who work less than 20 years of service here. So I think they took the least cost route available to them.
Okay, that's good. And do you do other pension benefits of this type?
Yes.
And do you see, is this common? Do you see this with other?
There, a lot of times when the city plans and the fire district plans were developed, this 60 and 20 years of service or 55 and 20 years of service was very common. There was one insurance company, I think it was Aetna, way back when, who established all these plans, and there was a very common theme of this type of thing, of the definition of a normal retirement date requiring the 20 years of service. Most of those plans have been either maybe have an early retirement provision, which yours doesn't. Yours does not have any early retirement provision. So some of them have been modified to add an early retirement provision to take care of this. Our suggestion here was, I think the easiest suggestion is to modify the normal retirement rather than add an early retirement benefit, which yours doesn't have.
Okay, and that's more cost-effective too, do you feel?
I think it would be the same probably. I think
Probably
the
the
early
same.
retirement benefit would be defined in the same fashion.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there any further questions?
Another statement. I understand the purpose then of this is to clarify the benefit, especially with the changing times, and we don't have the employees that come
I
in.
sincerely believe that to be
Right.
true.
So
Yes.
I do support this amendment. I just wanted to make the comment that I still think that we need to look at the overall plan in light of the compensation study, but that's for another day. Thank you.
Thank you.
for coming.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, I don't have a comment, or a question, but I'd like to have a comment.
Sure, of course, we're in discussion.
I think-
Still discussion on the amendment.
A large benefit to this is if we find ourselves with the police department and the fire department, there's ever a leadership void, and I think, a lot of us are in agreement, we'd like to look not only internal but externally. And if we found a great external candidate, I would hate for them to turn down the position because they said, well, I'm gonna give up this great pension, and if I come work for you for 10 years, 12 years, I'm not gonna get this pension. So this gives us a great opportunity to get the best candidate anytime we have a leadership void in the city.
Thank you.
And so, that's my only comment.
Any further discussion of the amendment? Okay, seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote. This is voting in favor of making Bill number 6016 an ordinance. Roll call, please.
Alderman Kramer?
Yes.
Alderman Leahy?
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller?
Yes.
Alderman Bannister?
Yes.
Alderman Plufka?
Yes.
Alderman Saunders?
Yes.
Alderman Tui?
Yes.
Bill number 6016 is hereby passed by the Board of Aldermen and upon signature by the mayor will become ordinance number 4669.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is second reading of Bill number 6017. Mr. City Attorney.
Bill number 6017, second reading and consideration for adoption, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and/or city administrator to enter into and execute a professional service agreement on behalf of the city of Brentwood, Missouri, with Housel Levine Associates, and providing for the effective date of this ordinance. And I apologize to the company for what I must have done to their name.
Synopsis, please.
Yes, Your Honor, Bill 6017, our second reading this evening, comprehensive plan update. Bill covers an ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Brentwood and/or city administrator to enter into and execute a professional services agreement with Housel Levine Associates for an update of the city's comprehensive plan and including residential design guidelines, an economic development component, and a review of existing codes in light of the outdated plan and updated plan. The Planning and Zoning Commission reviewed the request September 9th and unanimously recommended the approval of the Housel Levine Associates to perform the comprehensive plan update, including the architectural design guidelines, economic development component, and review of codes. This is Bill number 6017.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to perfect.
I'll make the motion to perfect Bill number 6017.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Board of Aldermen perfect Bill number 6017. Is there any discussion? Alderman Leahy.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, and to the board, I would like to at least clarify, I am not in favor of passing this bill. I think that the amount that we jumped from lowest bidder to the second bidder is too much to be a reasonable expectation. I do understand the staff's concern that the lowest bidder may not be the best qualified candidate. I would like to see the bill fail and potentially have the city go back out for another RFP and hopefully get better results than jumping up. I think it's $33,000 that we're jumping up between lowest bidder and this bidder. And I think that's too much in the percentages to accept as a reasonable course of action. So I'll vote no on this bill.
Thank you. I just want to clarify for the board, the recommendation this evening did not come from staff, it came from the Planning and Zoning
Correct,
Commission. So I think you said staff, and I want to make clear to the board that the recommendation for the passage of the bill did come from the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Yes, the recommendation is for staff to go back out for another RFP.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure everybody understood. Alderman Saunders.
And to that point, planning and zoning are the ones that are supposed to go out for the bids for this, and it falls under their purview. And our goal, or our responsibility is to provide them the funds in order to get done what they need to get done. And this is a very, very important document, one that's dear to my heart, and good planning is costly, but you get one time to get it right. And I'm sure that they, it was a unanimous, and I'm sure they got to see samples of the quality of work and the type of work that they do. But our responsibility is just funding, and I don't think that this amount seems very reasonable to me for the extent of the plan that we're going to get out of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Plufka.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would echo the sentiments of Alderwoman Saunders, and I would further say that based on the question and answering at the last meeting and the answers provided by Justin to questions by this board having to do with the additional cost related to this particular provider, that I think it will be money well spent, and I would recommend that we pass this. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Kramer.
Yes, Your Honor. We had a unique opportunity to I guess, understand and review some of the working aspects of this company with regards to the review of our comprehensive plan and the analysis and some of the various recommendations and findings that they had for us. I'm encouraged by the fact that we are moving forward on this. I look forward to hear exactly how the report turns out, and I'm looking forward to voting in favor of Bill 6017.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll have roll call, please.
Alderman Kramer?
Yes.
Alderman Leahy?
No.
Alderman Lockmiller?
Yes.
Alderwoman Bannister?
Yes.
Alderman Plufka?
Yes.
Alderwoman Saunders?
Yes.
Alderman Tui.
Yes.
Bill number 6017 is hereby passed by the Board of Aldermen and upon signature by the mayor will become ordinance number 4670.
Thank you. Item number 12A on the agenda, bill number 6018, first and second reading. First reading, please, Mr. City Attorney.
Bill number 6018, first reading, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and/or city administrator to execute a contract on behalf of the city of Brentwood, Missouri, with Michael McAllister for the purchase of certain real property located in Brentwood, Missouri, known as 8758 Rosalie Avenue, and providing for the effective date of this ordinance.
Synopsis, please.
Yes, Your Honor. In light of the fact the synopsis is very similar to the title, I'll ad-lib just a little bit. Bill 6018, the first and second reading for the purchase of 8758 Rosalie Avenue. Bill covers an ordinance authorizing the mayor as city administrator to execute a contract and all necessary documents for the purchase of that property at 8758 Rosalie Avenue, which, for those who may not be aware, is very close to the city property here and will be used in the future for city purposes.
I believe Director Wise has some information for the board on this.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Staff was authorized to reach out to the owner of 8758 Rosalie and discuss the potential purchase of the property once we noticed the property was up for sale. It's been a little bit of a long process, but we have gotten through it. We went out, first step is we got an appraisal done of the property. We had authorization from the board to negotiate up to that amount, but not to exceed that amount. And that is the amount that we agreed with the property owner on. That amount is $113,000. Essentially, the existing home on the site is in very poor condition. So the appraisal of the house is essentially the land cost minus the cost to take the existing house down. And that's how the appraiser came up with the value. There are some additional costs, closing costs, $1,086.39, the appraisal cost at $500, survey cost of $425, for a total of $115,1139. This is not a budgeted project, as we weren't foreseeing that the house would come up for sale. So we would also seek authorization from the board to include this in the year-end budget amendment.
Are there any questions for Director Wise?
Just a comment, Your Honor, if I could.
Alderman Kramer?
Just wanted to thank city staff for pursuing this diligently in light of extenuating circumstances, and also to clarify that the city will not be needing a mortgage to make this purchase.
I don't think so.
Thank you.
Any further questions? All right, thank you. Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, second reading, please.
Bill number 6018, second reading and consideration for an adoption. An ordinance authorizing the mayor and/or city administrator to execute a contract on behalf of the city of Brentwood, Missouri, with Michael McAllister for the purchase of certain real property located in Brentwood, Missouri, known as 8758 Rosalie Avenue, and providing for the effective date of this ordinance.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion that we perfect Bill number 6018 into ordinance form.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the board perfect Bill number 6018 into ordinance form. Is there any discussion? Alderman Saunders.
I just wanted to make a comment. This is why you want to have reserves, so that when opportunities like this come up, you have the money to purchase land, which you can then later use for city use, and it's adjacent or near this property here, so then when we decide to update this area, you know, we even have that much more. So, again, that's another reason that I push for increased reserves. Thanks.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Alderman Lockmiller.
I'm in favor of this bill. Right now, we own all the property surrounding this property, and I think this is an excellent time to grab the property before someone else does, and it becomes even more expensive in the future to try to acquire. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Alderman Kramer?
Yes.
Alderman Leahy?
No.
Alderman Lockmiller?
Yes.
Alderman Bannister?
Yes.
Alderman Plufka?
Yes.
Alderwoman Saunders?
Yes.
Alderman Slusser?
Yes.
Alderman Toohey?
Yes.
Bill number 6018 is hereby passed by the Board of Aldermen and upon signature by the mayor will become ordinance number 4671.
Okay, thank you. Item number 13 on the agenda, we have no resolutions this evening. Item number 14 on the agenda, accounts against the city. Welcome, Alderman Slusser.
I've reviewed the warrant list with the city administrator, and I recommend the approval of bills in the amount of $9,211.64.
Second, Your Honor.
It's been moved and seconded that the board approve the warrant list as submitted. Is there any discussion? Alderman Leahy.
I'd like to point out that a month ago, we passed the highest bill that I've seen in 14 years, at a little bit more than $3 million. And at $9,200, I think this is the lowest one I've seen in 14 years.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the warrant list as submitted, say aye. Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous. The warrant list is approved. Okay, item number 15 on the agenda, reports of committees and department heads. Under my report, I'm just going to say to the board, I sent around to the board this afternoon a memo dealing with board member conduct and some of the issues that we've dealt with here lately. And my purpose in doing that was to make sure that the board understands that it is the Board of Aldermen acting as a group that decides what is appropriate and what is not appropriate. And it is their duty and responsibility to make those decisions and enforce them. And to the extent that they don't do those things, I feel that the board and the city suffers as a result. So I did that by way of education. I did that by way of giving you my honest opinion of what's going on, and I encourage you to read it and take it to heart. So that's my report this evening. Public Safety Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We had a meeting last week. I had notes. We'll perhaps be ready to bring a bill prohibiting distracted driving to the full Board of Aldermen in the next month or two. We also took up a discussion regarding safety measures in the city buildings, discussed cameras and other measures that are already scheduled for purchase and installation with the budget in 2016. And we had a discussion with regard to traffic concerns, safety concerns, traffic both to the east of Brentwood Boulevard near Mark Twain School, and then also on the west of Brentwood Boulevard on Pine Avenue. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Public Works Committee, Alderman Tui.
The Public Works Committee will not be meeting in November. We will reconvene in December. But on that agenda, a topic that's kind of been brought up about the canisters, businesses have storage containers, and the view it might have on the community, and we will be reviewing that because of Alderman Kramer's recommendation. We will look at the code and enforcement.
Okay, thank you. Public Works Committee. Oh, sorry, that was Public Works Committee. Again, Alderman Tui, encore. Director Wise.
No report, Your Honor.
Director Ways and Means Committee, Alderman Slusser.
No report.
Mr. City Attorney.
No report, sir.
Madam City Administrator.
No report.
Madam Excise Commissioner.
I have a report. St. Mary Magdalene.
Somebody's got to work around here.
I know. Boy, I'm busy all the time. St. Mary Magdalene has submitted applications for a temporary liquor license for their fish fries and their parish picnic, both taking place in 2016. The fish fry license is for each Friday during Lent. There are 7 of them beginning on February 12th, 2016, and ending on March 25th, 2016. They will be selling beer and wine only. The parish picnic is for 2 days, May 20th and the 21st of 2016. They will be selling beer, wine, and margaritas at the picnic. Both events will take place on the school grounds and in the school cafeteria.
Thank you.
Motion to approve the St. Mary Magdalene liquor license request.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the board approve the request by St. Mary Magdalene Church to have the liquor licenses as indicated by Alderwoman Manistar. Is there any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Library, Alderwoman Manistar.
The library board met on Tuesday, October 6th. The first strategic planning committee meeting for the library should be held sometime in mid-November. Names of potential committee members have been compiled, and the strategic planning committee should be in place by the end of October. Also, the Brentwood Library has won the statewide Missouri Book Challenge, which means the staff of our library collectively read more books than any other staff that participated in this event in the entire state of Missouri.
Wow.
And the next meeting is Tuesday, November 3rd.
Okay,
We want you all to come.
Tuesday, November 3rd for the library board meeting. And that's where?
Downstairs at the library.
Downstairs in the library. Thank you very much. I'm just trying to help.
In the meeting room, one of the meeting rooms.
Municipal League, we don't have anything to report this evening. And Historical Society, Chief? No report. Item number 16 on the agenda, are there any announcements? Alderman Leahy.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to announce that the Ward 3 meeting for the month of October is on Tuesday night, the 27th, 7 p.m. here in the council chambers. And would also like to make a second announcement, if I may, Your Honor.
Sure.
October the 31st is my favorite holiday, Halloween. As a kid, it's wonderful to go out and run around and collect free candy. There's nothing better than getting it free. But as an adult, take some time, go slow that evening, watch for the kids, check your kids' costumes, make sure they can see and that they're safe, and make it an enjoyable experience for them so that when they get older, they can help pass along a nice tradition. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any further announcements? Seeing none. New business? No new business? Number 18, hearing of any matter of public interest upon the request of any person present. Anyone who'd like to address the board, please come forward. You'll have 3 minutes to do so.
Matt Saunders, 2326 Park Ridge, and I just want to say that I heard one of the best things I've ever heard at one of these meetings tonight, and I can't remember the librarian supervisor's name.
Vicki.
Vicki, what you said, I really appreciate hearing that. We don't hear a lot of good news here. You admitted that we had some problems in the past and that they're being fixed and that you've noticed them. As a citizen, that's the first time I've ever heard someone say that didn't have a dog in the fight. And as far as your compliments to BOLA, all I can say is thank you very much for upgrading the standards. That's the best news I've heard at one of these meetings in a long, long time. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Do we have any further public comment? Okay, seeing none. There's no closed meeting on the agenda this evening. I would oh, sorry. Alderman Leahy, for what purpose do you rise?
Motion to adjourn, Your Honor.
I like that purpose.
Second.
All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. We're adjourned.